snow. We had snow all Tuesday night and all Wednesday. And now the sun is out, so that's nice. I had to drive in it. It was pretty treacherous, but better than last time. We've had some crazy snows. The air is really dry, so my throat is kind of scratchy right now. So bear with me with that. I hope everyone's doing well. And, we still live in this crazy world. The only thing I can say good about, well, there's a lot of good things to say, but, 45, and I still have to call him 45 because he didn't really win, is that the world is uniting against him. And even though here in America we're stuck with him in a horrible situation of his narcissism, at least we know the world is fighting against him, and essentially that means they're fighting for us. I still have not ever been able to change a MAGA, a 45 supporter. I've never been able to philosophically or academically change them. There's nothing. They still come after me online, and I could give them facts, many facts, and they still deny it. And when it comes down to is yes, again, over and over again. And many psychologists have already said this, but they're in a cult. They can't see the truth. They're literally in a cult. MAGA is in a cult, and there's no way to make them see the truth. And also, they like what 45 does. They like him hurting children. They like him infiltrating our financial and our Social Security and Medicare. I mean, people aren't going to get walkers when they need walkers. People won't get wheelchairs. People won't be able to go into hospice. We're going to have people unable to walk in our society and dying of cancer in someone's back room without medication or nurses, and that's what he's doing. And why? Why? First of all, I know why he's doing it. It's because he's a narcissist. But why does MAGA think it's okay? Why does MAGA think it's okay? That's a good question. Again, it comes down to the cult. There's really, so if you ever ask yourself, why does 45 do what he does? Why does he do these horrible things? One, he's a narcissist and he's high a lot. So is Leland. Leland is high a lot. But the narcissism is the biggest thing. They do not have compassion. They like to hurt people. They like to do these things. What you shouldn't do is ever give them any power. And that's the problem. They got power and now they're abusing power overtly. They don't know boundaries. Narcissists know no boundaries. They don't care about your stuff, your social security, privacy, your all your identity. They don't care. They don't care if you're hurt, sick, dying. They don't care about children. They'll say they do. They'll say they do, but they don't. They're narcissists. That's why you don't give them power. Yeah, and MAGA likes it. This is exactly what MAGA wanted. They wanted to hurt the world. People they say is weak. And I had this revelation because the whole mask thing is a great example. It's the Kool-Aid thing, like, will you die for me? And they said, okay, yeah, we'll die for you. So they didn't wear a mask with a 100-year pandemic, deadly pandemic. They didn't wear the mask. And, but no, the masks are still bad. But to them. But the fear of being ostracized and kicked out of the group, the Frump group, MAGA, to be kicked out of that was more terrifying. And they'd rather die than to be kicked out of that. And that explains everything else. They would rather die than to be kicked out of this because they have no identity. 45 is their identity. So, it's pretty bad, but yes, the world is uniting against him and essentially for us. I've said it, 60% or more of us did vote for Kamala, and it was robbed from us with the same ease that Leland is getting into all our IRS and our Medicare and Social Security. Look how easy it is. He's not even asking for, can he do this? Where are the passcodes? Where are the keys to get in the buildings? Where's security? No, he's just doing it. And his little young helpers are doing it. They call themselves Balls, BOLZ. He's big balls, if that tells you their mentality. They think it's funny. Anyway, they're doing it just like they did to the election. Really easy. So, any comments? Oh, yes. Thank you, Jamie. You are correct. Thank you. Jamie says, don't pay any attention to them. You are entitled to your opinion. Yeah. And I'm very opinionated. But, you know, in other times of presidents, I've always stayed, I've had my opinions, but I've always got to the wall of, but I still respect my president and I still respect my country. This is completely different. And I've told people that, I'm sorry if it sounds offensive, but, and unpatriotic, but this is different. And this, because 45 is really a tool for Putin, who has used him to destroy America and infiltrate America. So I'll go through some things that I wrote down. I worked today. Again, my voice is really dry. Let me drink some water. It's just really dry winter air today. Trump said, he posted something that was fed to him probably by Stephen Miller. He said that his law, he basically said, it's my way or the highway. My law is the only law. There's no above my law, which is what a king would say, right? A really bad king like Henry VIII, which I've said, I think 45 was Henry VIII in a past life. Think about it. 8th, 9. Henry VIII, Frump the 9th, 4, 5, 45, 9. So he's basically saying he's king. He's always said that. He even posted something today, a picture of him as with the crown. He's always said he was king. And the Supreme Court really created this big baby monster of 45 by not restricting his immunity. They bypassed the Constitution and the laws of this country and said he can do whatever he wants. They did that because they didn't want to get in trouble. They didn't want to lose their money. They didn't want to be outed with help during the fake electoral scheme in 2020. So they saved their ass momentarily, but the problem is now that they've created this big raging toddler king of 45, now whenever he wants to get rid of them, he will. So they really didn't save themselves in the long run. So yes, other people are going to take the hit, but in the long run, they're not safe either. They created a monster. They should have said no to him. They should have said no immunity for you. Really what Spirit told me when I was writing these out, they said Imelda Marcos, that 45 is now like a raging Imelda Marcos. They created a monster. Okay, so part of that is his erratic, and this is again, the erratic dismantling of food. Our food, now we can't trust our food. And the FAA, every time, this is Spirit too. I was telling my son this last night. I said, have you noticed that every time Trump takes away something in the FAA, some security measure, he messes with it, there's a direct karma. Like a plane crashes like almost within that hour. And yet again, a midair collision, I believe down in Arizona, had the plane crash in Canada, upside down, strangest thing ever. The military plane that crashed into the ocean off of San Diego. Keep happening with all the things that he does. And direct, instant karma every time. Now, the good thing about the plane in Canada that was from America, so it's our fault, not Canada's fault, but they'll investigate. Whereas here in America, if it had crashed in America, we'd never hear anything about it. It would just be buried under the rug because 45 doesn't want any lawsuits. He doesn't want any lawsuits. So he's suits for me. So yeah, Canada will investigate and they will find some key issues. Maybe we'll find out if it's something being tampered with by a third party entity. or just direct negligence, which really that's mostly what it is, direct negligence from 45, taking away safety, firing people because of DEI, right? Okay, so 45's betrayal. Those damn squirrels on the roof, it drives me nuts. 45's betrayal to Ukraine um, last night, where he basically said, it's Ukraine's fault. So they get attacked. They didn't ask for it. They get attacked, and somehow that is Ukraine's fault. What a betrayal to them. But to be honest, did we not think this was going to happen? I mean, I think we all knew that this was possible, that we all knew that 45 was working with Putin, and that the second he got a chance, he just waited a little bit so it wasn't so obvious. But we knew the second he got a chance, he would say this, that it was Ukraine's fault. It's basically like saying, he hit you, it's your fault. You asked for it. You asked for it by talking back. So that's just such a betrayal. But we all knew he was going to do that. And again, Europe, the world is going to unite. And I heard that England is already going to help Ukraine. They're going to unite for Ukraine, and even Turkey. Erdogan, isn't that Erdogan? He said he would help Ukraine. That's amazing. So you see, 45 is creating all of these enemies. It's almost like he's the vaccine that is the antibodies, and he's the virus. Actually, he's the virus in the vaccine, and he created all these antibodies. So it's interesting how this is working out. Let's see. We always knew 45 was working with Putin, and would try to help destroy Ukraine. They're not going to be destroyed. They're not going to be. Zelensky knows it's not us Americans, it's 45, and his evil cronies. Most of us did not want 45 or vote for him, and we've been hijacked by his coup. That is so true. And speaking of that, Elon getting into the government systems, I already talked about that, how easy it is. That's how easy he got into the voting machines for entertainment. Bing, bang, boom. He used his electronics, his AI grok, his I mean, it was just easy. Look how easy it is. He's getting in there, no trouble. He's not having any trouble accessing private, top secret security information, financial, banks, all of it. And that's you think that it was hard for him to get into voting machines? You really think so? It's pretty obvious. It's very obvious. Okay. And we should go back and look at everything 45 and Sidney Powell claimed in 2020. You know how they said all these things about the election, they said that Democrats did? Really, it was their blueprint for what they tried to do in 2020 and blamed us. And that's why I get so mad when people say, you sound just like them, election deniers, you sound just like them. It's like, well, you know, they're the ones who lied last time, and they're the ones who are lying this time. They're the ones who tried to cheat last time, and they're the ones who did cheat this time. We didn't. We've always been doing things above board. That parallel has not changed. They just got by with it this time. They got by with it because they added Leland into the mix, and we're calling them out for it. We should have called them out more and should have done recounts. You know, I said before the election, I said, everything's a paper ballot, mail, all that, it's all paper ballots. So that's your evidence. You can do recounts. You can compare it to the tabulators. And it's amazing how we didn't do recounts. It's amazing. It boggles the mind. But anyway, if you want to know the blueprint of how to hold this election, look at what they accused the Democrats of in 2020. And things like satellites. See, here's the thing. I said last time, for entertainment purpose only, I said last time in 2020, before 2021, I said, before anyone else talked about this, I said, you know how satellites can now change through Wi-Fi your thermostat, and people are finding that their thermostat now is set to 69 when they had it set at 65. And they're not touching it. And also, the companies are not even having to do meter readers anymore like they used to. They just do it through Wi-Fi. And this was something that Spirit told me. And oh my God, people got so mad at me and called me crazy. And that's when I turned off my comments. If that's the hit that Spirit told me. And then I heard Sidney Powell say it later on during the January 6th hearings that she'd said that in the like the Oval Office meetings. And I was like, that's what Spirit told me that they tried to do. And I said it and I got in trouble, even though it's what they tried to do. And then we call everybody crazy and election deniers. But I'm just telling you, that's what we should look at that. We should look at their blueprints. They had blueprints. Everything they accused Democrats of doing, they did and tried to do then and did now. Um, so anyway, I just really get upset when people say, don't be an election denier. And I'm like, are you not seeing the evidence? Are we not in the same universe? I think it's really clear that this election was stolen this time. Like blatantly clear. But we just don't have the courage. We did not have the courage. And this whole thing of don't sound like them, I actually think we should have been more like them and been just as rogue and adamant, because guess what? We deserved it. After all we went through with them, we should have done it. Anyway, and yes, Elon did steal the election. He did, for entertainment purposes only. He purged votes. He did. AI, Grok, and Eliza, his AI app, Polymarket, exact election maps. Dell chips and voting machines. Elon bought part of Dell last summer. There's Dell chips and voting machines. And yes, voting machines can go on the internet. They said that. They wrote many articles about it. Again, they said, you can't talk about that, but it happened. It's the truth. A cheat code that opened tabulators from 6 to 8 p.m. Starlink signaled the cheat code to open and purge votes. Bing, bang, boom. That's what happened. We don't have to make it complicated. Okay, I want to talk about the children at the border. You know, 45 is doing all these crazy Henry VIII syphilis brain things, okay? And he's really, that's a lot of it. I believe that he has syphilis. I believe he's like Henry VIII. That's how crazy he is. And things like getting rid of the Kennedy Library. People were literally in the library. And he sent out the Nazi order to fire everyone and shut it down. So people literally having a beautiful day in this beautiful institution, and the Kennedy Center. What if 45 thinks he's so presidential and democratic and all these wonderful things? Why is he going after everything that JFK did? Last time it was against everything Obama did, but this time he's directly going after everything JFK did. Is it because of the Caroline Kennedy, what she said to him? Is that why? Or did he just have a plan set out to completely destroy John F. Kennedy, his legacy? Because it really seems like that's what he's doing. That's crazy. That's Henry VIII syphilis brain behavior from 45. Now, those are bad. Firing people in science positions, not allowing funding for virus at schools, tearing down the Department of Education, so many things. The parks, shutting down. He wants to have his oligarchs from Saudi Arabia and Russia buy real estate in these parks. So great. That's lovely. That's just great. But probably the worst of the worst is still this whole thing with the rounding up of Anne Franks and their parents every year. And yes, there's probably many Anne Franks writing in their diary tonight down at the border or across America, afraid they're going to. I saw a video where they just rounded up some guy who wasn't even an immigrant. He was what you would call an American citizen, born in America, Caucasian. And he did something wrong, and ICE just rounded him up, put him in a van. He's gone. And he said, my wife's pregnant. I need to get back to my wife. Nope, they put him in a van. He's gone. So it is like the Gestapo. And no one's holding 45 accountable. No one. The king, the mad king. So the worst of the worst that's happening is that, and these children down at the border now, the order that 45 said last night another one of his off their heads order, the executive order, was to say that immigrant children at the border cannot have legal representation. So that means they can be abused sexually and otherwise, and lost, sold. You know, it's so funny how MAGA people, Republicans, they all say, Democrats are child traffic, blah, 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 all that stuff, and perverts, blah, 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 blah. And all the evidence always goes to MAGA and like preachers, everyone in cabinet, everyone that 45 knows, Matt Getz, etc., Jim Jordan, Epstein, all of it. Um, I think it's really suspicious that he would take away legal representation for children. That sounds fishy. That doesn't sound good. And but also what he doesn't want is he knows there's going to be abuse down there. He knows children are going to be sold off. He knows that. But he doesn't want the lawsuits. He doesn't want the lawsuits in the future. So if you take away all evidence and all legal representation, there's no paperwork. It hurts my heart. It really does. It's hard to get through this every day. It's, yeah. Pray. That's really, and demand that our legal system and our constitution, that they hold him accountable. But another thing, is Uten still around? Has anyone seen him or heard from him? I know that 45 is doing orders from him, but really no one has seen or heard from him. So what's up with that? But anyway, someone said, prove that 45 is a sociopath. And I was like, you can't prove the obvious to people who see his actions as okay. They could have stopped supporting him a long time ago, and with good reason to. But they love his actions. They cheer it on. They like it. They don't like to be told that they're cheering him on. They don't like to they don't like to look like bad people, but they're cheering him on, and they're not stopping him. We're not getting the news here. Protests here abroad are not shown to us. There's a lot that we're not hearing in America anymore. It's kind of scary. We did hear, however, that JD Vance went to Scotland and was properly shown his ass. And if there's anyone on this earth that you don't want to piss off, it's probably Scottish people, I would assume, or the French. But I love that. I loved hearing the stories about how the Scottish people just to the coals. So that's good. And I know that the world is praying for us and protesting for us. Now, I really hope that Germany will not allow Elon to hijack their elections. They really need to take, and they also need to count paper ballots and turn off Starlink. Someone showed a map today of everywhere that Starlink is, and it was literally all around the earth. And that's what I was shown when I did my first reading on Elon in early 2021, before everything started with him in politics. Spirit said he is putting a web of satellites around the earth. He had a hard time with his father in his childhood, and he has daddy issues and mommy issues, and he clings to his mother, and he wants to change and control people's brains. So part of why he has satellites everywhere is to create an algorithm, a web that spies and controls, and that an algorithm, and to try to control us and change us. He wants to change humanity. Well, we have a thing called free will. And also, he is a narcissist. And, maybe anyone else would talk about maybe helping humanity, but he doesn't have the help humanity thing. He has the help himself thing. So what else did they say about him? Oh, well, there's, that's basically it. And the rest. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to get all those points out. Those are all my psychic insights. And again, Spirit told me, have hope. And I haven't lost hope. There are moments when I feel really down about everything that's going on and I don't really want to be here and, it's hard. But most of the time, I really do sit in that space now that Spirit told me, and that is to have hope. And that changed a lot for me because I trust them way more. Obviously, um, they see all and know all, and they are much stronger than any dark entity on this earth. And there are no kings in heaven. There's only one real God, although we're all God. No one's above each other. But there's only false gods on earth, and that includes kings and presidents.